Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pathway to Your Results podcast. It is your boy DG. We're here. I want to go ahead and tell you this right now, for those of you that don't know. This particular episode can also be found in video format on YouTube. Right? People have been telling me, "Oh, we got to see it. We want to see it more than just on live. We want to go back and watch it." So this is available on YouTube right now. Go to YouTube at DG Mindset and you will see this episode. Not literally hear it, but you will see it too. So I have to go ahead and start with that. So I'm creating this version of myself that is essentially a global icon, right? That's the energy that I'm putting out. And I know that if I put it out, I can hold the vibration long enough that this universe, through electromagnetism, has no choice but to mirror that. So I'm sitting here. I'm driving up to Chicago this week because I have an event up there, and then I'm just going to go drive over to South Bend because I got to work with Notre Dame women's basketball team. And this thought starts popping in, and I don't know if it's the Sagittarius in me. I don't know what it is, but I love words, like in the etymology of words and the origins of words. But I'm sitting here driving, and I had plenty of time, 2.5, 3 hours, and I started thinking about the word distraction. Right, when we get distraction, we get distracted, or we're like, hey, you got to focus, don't get distracted. Well, we know what focus is, right? Focus is when we're able to centralize our energy. When we can centralize our energy, that means we're only sending energy to a specified place through our attention and intention. This is what it means to focus. So when we say pay attention, we are paying with the currency of this universe, which is focus. Okay, that's number one. So then I started to think about okay, well, what is the opposite of focus? It's being distracted. Well, if I know that focus is me, good God Almighty, here we go. It's coming right now, live and in effect. If I know that focus is me centralizing and lasering in and scoping in with my energy, then that means distraction would be the antithesis, the opposite of it. So I started to think distract. Okay, dis. I know that dis is the Latin prefix for without. It means without, right? Discomfort. That means I'm without comfort. There is the opposite of dis, which is con. So dis means without. Con means with. So then I said, okay, I have distractions. That means the opposite of that would be contract. But if you think about it, the way we use contract, it doesn't come across as the opposite of distract. So you know me, the Sagittarius warrior I am, I got to figure out why. I need to know how, I need to know what. So I'm sitting here driving. If I had my way, I swear you, I would have pulled over on the road and I would have went to thesaurus.com. I would have went to dictionary.com. I would have started doing my work. But anyway, all of this is coming straight from the source. So I'm just like, this is pure downloads coming in while I'm driving. And I say to myself, I'm like, okay, distract, contract. Well, what happens when I sign a contract? That means it's a binding agreement between at least two parties. So when I make a contract, that means I'm saying I'm going to do X, and in return, you will do Y. This sounds like the seventh universal law of this universe, which is the law of gender. Masculine and feminine, giving and receiving, positive and negative, left and right, up and down. So I started to realize that every time that we sign a contract, it was with something. And every time that we were distracted, it was without something. So now I got to figure out, what does tract mean? What is this word tract? What is it? So I go and look up the etymology of it. And it comes from the Latin word trahere, which means to pull, to draw. And I said, oh, wait, hold on now. What are we pulling and what are we drawing? What are we drawing from? So when you're, good God Almighty, here we go. When you are distracted and something is distracting you, it is because it is pulling from your energy field. You are paying with your attention, with your energy, and it is only pulling and is violating this natural law of the law of gender, and you are not receiving anything from it. It is only pulling. You are giving, it is receiving. You are giving, it is receiving. You are giving, it is receiving. It's distracting you. But for there to be a harmonious balance, it would have to give you something and you'd have to be able to receive. But it's not doing that. So then I started to think about the opposite of what a contract is. The reason why a contract works is because what I'm putting out and what I'm giving, you are receiving it. But then in return, you are giving something into me and I'm receiving it. This, my friends, is the natural law of the law of gender. This is what creates things in harmonious balance. So I started thinking about my life and I said, oh my goodness, we know that energy is the currency of all of everything. You're making contracts all the time. You are constantly giving your energy and receiving your energy from things constantly. And when you have a contract with something energetically, that means the full circle has been completed. So the half the circle would be you giving, and then it receiving on the bottom end, and then finishing out that circle would be it giving and you receiving. So I started to think about your bed. Think about your bed when you go to bed at night. When I checked into the hotel, right? I get into the hotel and the bed is already made. And I don't know, some of these fancy hotels, I don't really like them because they make it so daggone tight. You get inside the bed, you feel like you inside of a torture chamber because you can't move in it. So anyway, I get in the room and I'm looking at the bed and I'm like, somebody made this bed. Now I'm about to use this bed as a way to replenish my energy levels, right? I'm going to lay down and replenish my energy levels through this practice, through this act that we call sleeping. So I'm going to lay down and I'm going to fold the sheets back, and then for some reason, after the night's over, we're finished doing what we do, we get up, we leave. This is why you were supposed to make up your bed. Because when you made up your bed, this was the completing of the contract. See, good God Almighty, I got into bed, and part of the agreement was that this bed was going to suffice. It was going to be a comfortable place for me to be able to restore my energy levels. It was going to do its job, because here's the problem as a human being. You think because something can't talk like you, walk like you, it doesn't have the same beliefs, you think that it's not alive. No, everything is alive. Why? Because everything is consciousness, everything is spirit, and spirit is the one thing, the living force that is emanating through everything. Okay? So I get into bed, and I get out of it to complete the contract, because the bed's like, yo, I did my job. I did what I was supposed to. You got into me. You rested. You restored your energy levels. You did whatever you needed to do, among other things in the bed. And now I have to close the other half of it by me making up the bed, by me putting the bed back to how it was. That is me completing the contract. Do you see how this works? So this is why you were supposed to make up your bed. This is why you were supposed to clean your house. This is why you were supposed to take care of your car, because the car had done its job. But then what do we do as selfish human beings? Because we're unaware of inanimate objects, we think because something's not sentient, we think that it's not real. But see, what we don't realize is we are violating universal principles. You're violating universal principles when you don't leave something, or you don't put something back to the way it was after you used it. So I started realizing in my life, like, this is what it meant to be distracted. When you were distracted, that meant something. You were giving your attention to something, but only one half of the circle was being completed. So that's why you had to be focused and not be distracted by things in life, because now I'm only giving energy to what happened. I'm only giving energy to the things that maybe weren't what I desired. Now I'm only giving attention and energy to these quote unquote negative things, but it's not giving me any energy back. And now there's a violation of this natural order. There's a violation of this natural law. Imagine it like this. Imagine. We look at the universe and we look at this natural environment of nature. It's constant contracts with everything. So think of it like this. The ground made a contract with the tree. The ground said, listen, I will be the constant, the medium, so that you may stand upon me and create a foundation so that you may build this yield of apples. This is what the ground said to the tree. And the tree said, cool. I appreciate you. Yeah. And then here's what I'll do. In return, since you've done this, I will produce apples. And the ground's like, yeah, that's cool, but like what does that have to do with me? How does that help? No, 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 trust me, I got you, I got you. In some way, shape, or form, it will come back to you. Okay, cool. So the tree's like, I'm gonna go ahead and give these apples. I'm going to give these apples to this ground who's allowed me to stand my roots on. And then what ends up happening is these apples fall to the ground. And then the deer walks over and the deer's like, I'm going to take these apples, tree, and I'm going to use them to nourish me. I'm going to use them to help me. And the tree's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. That's cool, but how is this benefiting me? How are we going to keep this harmonious balance? How is this going to be giving and receiving? And the deer's like, I know what I'll do. I'll defecate. I'll defecate the seeds out, and I'll give the seeds back to the ground. And at that moment, the ground got back what it had put into the tree. You see what I'm saying? So because the ground had allowed this tree to stand its roots on and grow its foundation in, now what ended up happening was it was able to bear and yield its fruit. And because its fruit came down, the deer's like, I'll take it. But the deer's like, I'm going to give it back to the ground. And this is the harmonious cycle of what we call energetic contracts. There was a giving, there was a receiving. If we even look at our lives, when we write a contract, whether it's written by a lawyer, whether it's an agreement, whatever it is, we see that there's two sides of it. One party's going to give, the other party's going to receive, but then the other receiving party has to give something. The key to you on this journey was recognizing that your life was a series of energetic contracts. It was a series of you giving and receiving, not just outside of yourself, but also within yourself. So I started thinking about, moments in my life when I may have gotten distracted, moments when I didn't stay focused. Why? I never forget. I was a junior in high school, right? I was a junior in high school. I'm gonna tell you this story. I'm gonna let you in my life a little bit. Now I was a late bloomer. I was so focused on basketball. I didn't have nothing to do with girls, and now I see why. Girls be distracting you at times, right? Not just girls, the opposite sex, not even the opposite sex, someone who you were interested in. This can be where you're giving your energy, right? So I remember being a junior in high school and I want to play college basketball. I got invited to this thing. It was the top 100 of the top 100 basketball players along the East Coast, right? And I got invited to it. And it was invite only. And it just happened to correspond and fall on the same day the same week that the girl, my first girlfriend, the person I was dating, the person I went to prom with, right? I'm wide open. My eyes like, oh, wow, I got a girlfriend. Wow, this is the best. I was feeling things I'd never felt before. You know how it is when you're smitten over somebody, right? This week was the same week that her parents were out of town. So I had it all planned out in my mind. Like, I'm going to hang out there. Like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to tell my parents I'm sleeping over here at this person's house, but I'm really going to be sleeping at her. I had it all planned out, right? Being a 17-year-old, just young and spry and wide open and thinking with the little head instead of the big head. But anyway, I go over there, and I had it all planned out in my mind. Like, yo, this is great. I went over there and didn't go to this camp that I got invited to. I didn't get invited. I didn't go. And I remember my dad asked me, like, why are you not going? I'm like, man, I don't know. I tried to make up some BS excuse. And I remember him looking at me like, boy, don't you sit here and bullshit. Boy, you ain't going to sit here and tell me. I was your age. I know something's going on. It ain't what you're telling me. But anyway, I ended up not going. And I ended up going to this girl's house. And I was so excited, right? So excited. And I'm going to tell you the moral of this story. I go over there, I brought my bag, my sleeping bag, I brought my toothbrush, I got it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going over there, we're going to... And then here's what happened. She's acting like she's sad. I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? She was sad because she knew what she had done before. She had had a party the night before, and she had found her a new man. And now she had to tell me. And I have no idea any of this is going on. So I'm thinking I'm going over there to stay there and hang out for the night, watch movies and do whatever. I actually was going over there to be broken up with. I swear for you on everything. So look, I'm over there. She tells me, and she gives me the classic, it's not you, it's me. I'm like, so mind you, this is my first girlfriend, so this is therefore my first breakup, and I don't know what's going on. You know what I say when I'm leaving? Okay, well, when you figure out everything, just let me know, and I'll, like, maybe we can make it work out, we can get back together. I'll look back at me like, you suck a duck, you dummy, like. But look, I'm leaving the house, and as I'm leaving, you can't even like write this out. I'm leaving, and this dude is walking in on the walkway, like this little walkway by the flower bed, the bushes, the shrubs. He's walking in, and I'm walking out, and I look at him, and I don't know him, but I'm like, she had 4 sisters. I'm like, maybe he's coming to see one of her sisters or something. And I'm like, as fate would have it, I found out like 3, 4, 5 days later, this was the dude. He took my spot. He took my roster spot. So here's my point. I had to tell you that in the long and the short, right? To tell you this. I was pouring energy into something and someone that it was not being reciprocated. I wasn't getting it back. I was distracted. There was not a sound, energetic contract. So why am I saying this? I'm just using relationships as an example. Because you don't realize that sometimes you may be distracted through the relationship that you're in with somebody. If I'm putting more into you than you are putting into me, more importantly, I'm putting more into myself than you are putting into yourself. Good God Almighty, there is not a balanced contract, and it's only a matter of time before it does not work. I can't tell you how many instances, how many experiences, how many situations of people that come to me that are going through divorce, and one partner wanted to go to therapy and the other partner didn't. One partner goes straight to the self-help section in the bookstore, and the other partner doesn't even want to go to the bookstore. The problem is because there is a distraction. One is pulling from the other's energy field. So I have to say this. It's about you creating energetic contract first and foremost with yourself. Because however much you put into yourself, you will always get back. Always. So here's my point. Making sure that the contracts that we have with everything, the chair that you're sitting in at the restaurant, you make sure that you put it back because that chair was minding its business before you came along. The relationships that you're in, making sure that they're harmonious, meaning what you're putting into it, you are also receiving as well. The food that you are eating, making sure that there is a contract, that you are not just only eating foods that pull from your energy field, but you are also eating foods that are giving you energy as well. This is why we were never supposed to eat processed foods. You were supposed to be careful and be aware of what you were eating because the energetic contract that was taking place. So when you start thinking of your life as energy, when you start thinking of your life as just a series of giving and receiving, and then the receiving turns into giving and so forth and so on, now you can start to get in flow with this universe. Don't get me started though. I should probably even go here, but this is why if you look at this thing that we refer to as the government, it ain't working. It is not working. Why? Because it's so one-sided for the people involved. So the contract, with the energy, it's not harmoniously balanced. There's a receiving maybe from one end more than the other, and then there's not a giving. It has to be equal. And until, oh good God Almighty, that's why if you look at this country, this is why we have so much civil unrest. Because there's not an energetic contract. There's too much distraction. Do you see? If we understood how energy worked, now I would say to myself, I cannot sit here and watch this political show because all it's doing is pulling from my field. I cannot sit here and get wrapped up in the rigmarole of this game, Caesar's game of this thing that we call politics. I cannot get wrapped in this because the reality of it is you don't give a goddamn about what I'm doing. You're not trying to actually help me so I can help this world. You're actually distracting me and pulling from my field and keeping me from better understanding myself with all of these energetic distractions that keep me from focusing on the thing that actually was going to create this reality for us. So my point of this is this. I don't want to turn into, nothing is good or nothing is bad. We first had to understand that. But my point of this is getting you to understand where you are putting your energy. Because ultimately, nothing can distract you without your consent. Do you hear the word con? That means with. Do you see? You are the one who is scenting your energy. You are the one who is giving your energy to the distraction. Good God Almighty. So my point of this is, because at the reality, it will always come back to you. You are the one who is unconsciously being distracted. And this is the way the system is set up. The system is set up to manipulate and control those who are not consenting consciously. If you're not doing it consciously, you will be distracted, meaning it's just going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling from your field. Your energy was your life force, and your life force is what was creating your reality. So make sure that all of your contracts are sound. Clean up your bedroom, clean up your room, clean up your bed, clean up your life. When I say clean up, all that's doing is bringing harmony and balance to the energetic contracts that you have. Your body, your mind, create contracts with it. Make sure it's harmonious. What you're putting in, you're getting out. And what I'm getting out, I'm putting it back in. This is it. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because I realized I was constantly just pulling. I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm listening, I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm listening. I'm only pulling from somebody else's energy field. But what am I putting back out into the world? What am I putting back out? I'm expanding and I'm growing and I'm doing all these things internally. But what good is it if I do not give it back to this world? What good is it if I don't take my experiences, my circumstance, my knowledge, my wisdom, and I'm not giving it back to the young man or the young woman or the person who's on their journey? This is how I create this energetic contract that's harmonious. So I say that. As always, I'll tell you this, you matter. You matter. You have an obligation. You have a responsibility to yourself. And because you are the micro, you are this smaller version of this macro universe, you matter. You matter. Your energy matters. Where you put your energy, it matters. Not just in you and your own world, your own universe, but on the collective level as well. So here's my challenge to you and everybody. What if we started putting more energy into ourselves by being intentional with our thoughts, being intentional with what we do in our lives, whether it's meditation, whether it's breath work every day, whether it's journaling, being conscious of when we eat, being conscious when we overeat, being aware that the reason why I'm overeating right now is because I'm sad and I'm actually just using food as a way to make me quote unquote feel happy for the moment, but me feeling happy at that moment was really a placeholder because deep down within I do not feel like I'm enough, and the reason why I don't feel like I'm enough is because growing up I was never affirmed by mommy and daddy, so now I'm using food as the placeholder. The ego has attached itself to keep me from getting to the root of what I need to work on. What if I worked on myself and became aware of this? How much better would I help this world? Now I'm operating from a higher energy level. And if I'm operating from a higher energy level, I have more directive willpower with this thing called thinking. And now I will not be distracted. So my point of this is getting you to realize that you matter and everything that you put into yourself matters, because this is what was creating this entire physical universe. You matter. You absolutely matter. The work that you do on yourself matters. The things that you eat matter. How you live your life matters. Not just in your own individual subjective experience that you call life, but it matters on the collective level as well. Because we know the micro is what creates the macro. So as always, keep going. Don't worry about what it feels like or what it looks like or no. Just keep going. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. Because every time that you move forward, every time you go just a little bit further, every time that you dive just a little bit deeper, every time you step into that space that it feels like it stings and it hurts, and I don't want to go there anymore because it hurts too much. But every time you just keep moving just a little bit closer and you step towards your fears, every time you keep going, guess what you're doing? You are creating this thing, what we call momentum. And you keep pouring energy, you keep depositing energy into these energetic bank accounts. Good God Almighty. And we know that the more energy we put into these accounts, the more we will be able to withdraw. And then the more that we put in, we can withdraw even more. And every time that you withdraw, it will give you permission to deposit just a little bit more, and vice versa. So keep going. Keep working on yourself. Keep pulling, keep learning, keep growing. And then keep putting it back out. And I can promise you, you'll see life change. You will see life change. You will see things. You will see your life change. I sit here with my team here, Durango Payne and Davis Slitsky. I sit with them and we talk about where we've been in the last 6 months. We say, dang, look at where we come in 6 months. Look what we doing. I said, boy, you ain't seen nothing yet, y'all. Y'all ain't seen nothing. Why? Because we're each on our own journey working on ourselves. We're each trying to learn more about ourselves. So we're pulling energy, but then also we're giving it back into the world. And this is all it was. It was just contract. So do not be easily distracted. And if you are distracted, see where you gave the consent to give your energy to that. As always, keep going. You know where to find me. Go to dgmindset.com. All social media is at dgmindset. Keep going. Don't stop. And as always, I wish you nothing but the best on the pathway to your results.